श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम्। क्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं गुरु मे देव सर्वकार्ये सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वर गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषयगुरोगणां नदे सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नमो धर्माय माते नमः कृष्णाय वेदसे ब्राह्मणेभ्यो नमस्कृत्य धर्मान् वक्ष्यामि शाश्वतान्। नमो भगवते तस्मै व्यासाय तद्वेषे यस्य प्रसादात् वक्ष्यामि नारायणकथामिमां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। Previously, we were looking at after Abhimanyu's death, Yudhishthira was in grief, and at that time, Vyasa comes there and Yudhishthira asks him about death, Mrityu. So, who is this death, and what are the strengths and abilities of this death? What does it do? And Mrityu and asks about it, and then Vyasa narrates the story of how Mrityu was created by Brahma for ending all the creatures, and that Mrityu went through after his birth, went through a lot of penance, and then with Brahma's help, all the people started having desires, hatred, and all those kind of things. And then also, Mrityu was supported by other things like diseases and things. So she was going to be protected. She was not going to be abused by the people for taking away life breath. So that's the Mrityu story. And then Vyasa concludes saying that everybody has to die, and so did Abhimanyu. And Abhimanyu, because of his death, he has attained that heaven, which is attainable only by Raja-rishis, the great kings who lived life or attained the merits like a rishi, okay, like a sage. They have attained that kind of merits. So Abhimanyu has attained such a huge state by his death in this battlefield. So now, listening to this, Yudhishthira asks him, uh, tell me about all those great achievements of those royal sages, the Raja-rishis from the ancient times. What is the measure of sacrificial gifts they made? Who are those Raja-rishis? How righteous was their actions? What actions, karmas they did, actions they did, sacrifices they did? Tell me all those things. And then Vyasa starts his narration. Vyasa says that there was a king named Swaitya, Switya, and Switya had a son named Srinjaya, and Rishi Narada and Parvata were his friends. Narada and Parvata, they are both mutually good friends, and Srinjaya was their friend too. So one day, Narada and Parvata paying visit to Srinjaya. They came to his place and duly worshipped by Srinjaya, and they were offered a seat. Once all of them were seated, Srinjaya's daughter comes there, and she comes and takes a seat next to Srinjaya, and then looking at her, that daughter, Parvata smilingly asks Srinjaya, saying that who is this daughter, uh, has all the auspicious marks? Who is she? She has the splendor of Surya, flame of Agni, or the flame of or she any like Shri, Hri, Kirti, Dhriti, Pushti, Siddhi, or splendor of Soma, Chandra himself. So she looks so beautiful. Who is she? So after Parvata has said these words, Srinjaya answers that this girl is my daughter. She begs my blessings, and that's why she has come here. And Narada addresses Srinjaya saying that if you wish great good for yourself, give me this daughter as my wife. So then, delighted happily, Srinjaya addresses Narada saying that I will give you this daughter to you. So Narada, with that, he gets Srinjaya's daughter. So we Normally here that Narada is brahmachari, but there is the stories of Narada getting married and having wife and things like that. So there are stories. So it is not that he was always he was never married. Okay, so here clearly story says that he was married. So once Narada asks for that girl to be his wife, and Sanjaya agrees, Parvata becomes very disappointed because he looked at her first and he inquired about her first from Sanjaya. So he says that she was chosen by me before you within my heart, but you have taken this girl as your wife. Since you have done this, you will not be able to go to heaven at your own will. So he curses uh, Narada, his one friend, that you will not be able to go to heaven at your own will. And Narada also says that the husband's heart, speech directed there, the giver's consent, the speeches of both, the actual gift made by sprinkling the water, the recital of mantras ordained for the taking the hand of the bride. All these are indications of one constituted as a husband. Okay, but even this ceremony is not at all. Above all that, it is essential to walk the 7 steps. And so we call it Saptapadi during the wedding time, right? So all these uh, are important in wedding. For example, the bridegroom's heart and speech directed and willingness to marry, the girl's giver's consent, that means girl's father's consent, the speeches from both sides, the actual gift made, so that is the Kanya Dana, that's made by putting the water and handing over the bride to the bridegroom. That's Kanyadana itself with the mantras. All these are indications of wedding, but the important above all this is making those 7 steps together, Saptapadi. So that's the important, and uh, so these are without this, you propose the marriage about the marriage that has been accomplished. So you have cursed me. So even we are not yet married, you still already you cursed me. So because you cursed me that I will not go to heaven, you will also not go to heaven because you also could go, but because you cursed me, without me, you will not be able to go. So like this, Narada and Parvata, best friends, they curse each other. So when they curse each other, so they continue to live there. The Srinjaya made all the arrangements, the marriage happens, so then Narada continues to live them, and together, after some time, uh, the Brahmanas, so Srinjaya, in his mind, he had a desire to have a son. So he uh, worshipped a lot of Brahmanas, and the Brahmanas who were studied in Vedas and fully conversant with all the Shastras and branches, everything, they became gratified with the king and who was desiring a son. So all those together, they came to Narada and said that give this king a son like the kind he desires. Like he desires, give him a son. So then, when they all address Narada like that, he says, so be it. Then Narada addresses Sanjaya, saying that the Brahmana is very pleased and they wish you have a son. So ask a boon. So tell me what kind of son you want. Then Srinjaya says that I want a son who is possessed of every accomplishment, who is famous, who is glorious in his achievements, his great energy, is capable of chastising all the enemies, and further. So this is the strange thing he asks. So that's normally every Kshatriya asks the strength and accomplishment, fame, and all those things for his sons. But here Srinjaya also asked that his son's urine, excreta, phlegm, sweat, everything that's coming out of his body, all that should be turned into gold. And in due time, so Narada agrees to that. So after some time, king's wife gives birth to a child, and that child, since he was born like that, he was named as Suvarna Suvarna twin. So he was kind of, the meaning is he is of golden excreta. So he was like that. So anything that comes out of his body, whether it is urine or excreta, everything is turns into gold, and that's why he was named like that. So that child, in consequence of that, every day the gold, the wealth of King Sanjaya started increasing. Imagine, child drinks milk and then does urine and excreta and things like that. Every day that turns into gold. So all that turns into gold. So like this, all the waste coming from that baby turned into gold. So everywhere, Srinjaya got so much gold, he didn't know what to do. Okay, all the houses, walls, forts, the houses of Brahmanas, every Brahmana's house in his kingdom, the beds, vehicles, plates, everything you can think of became gold item. Because there was so much gold produced every day, he could not do, he didn't know what to do. So they did everything, utensils, everything you can think of. Okay. So they made of gold. So like this, the stock has increased. The gold volume has increased so much in these things. And then certain robbers heard about this, that this prince has such a ability that from his body, whatever that comes out is a gold. So they thought that if we take that prince, then his father's gold, he is the gold mine of his father. So we will get a lot of wealth. So the robbers thought like that. So inspired by that avarice, they went into king's palace and then forcibly took the prince and seizing him and taking him to the forest. Those idiots, they thought that the gold is in his stomach, so they cut open his body. So, but they saw nothing. So in his body, they saw nothing. So as the boy was growing, he was giving lots and lots of urine and excreta and gold. But when they cut open, there was nothing, because the blessing Narada gave, or the boon that was granted, was all the things that come out of his body becomes gold. So you probably heard normally what happens with the greed. Normally a story told about a golden egg laying hen, right? So people talk about so the chicken with golden eggs, and then one day the owner becomes greedy, and then he chops the thinking that there are eggs inside golden men one gold, and there was nothing inside. So he loses this mm, egg laying, golden egg laying chicken. So like that. So the story here, the prince got killed. So when prince was killed like that, the king becomes very much sorrow-stricken, and he sank and he performed all his last rite, but he could not get any peace. So always weeping on account of that. He was weeping, and then Narada comes to him, and Narada says that, tells Srinjaya, he approaches him saying that, why are you in grief like this, deprived of your senses, indulging in this lamentations? Why are you like this? So son died, so what? So why are you doing this? And then Narada starts explaining uh, some stories. He says that, O Srinjaya, with your desires unfulfilled, you shall have to die. At some point, you have to die. Although we who utter Brahma, that means Vedas, live in your house, you still have to die at some point. And then we hear about Avikshita's son, Marutta, even we heard that he had to die. And with Brahaspati, he had caused Samvata himself to, so with having an argument with Brahaspati, he made Samvata as his priest, and then through him he officiated and made great sacrifices. And that's Marutta, who is all the Mahadeva himself had given him wealth in the shape of golden plateau among in Himavat, and with that wealth, Marutta performed a lot of diverse sacrifices. And after completion of his sacrifices, diverse robes and tribes of celestials and those creators of the universe with Indra himself accompanying and with Brihaspati at their head used to come, and all the carpets, furnitures, and sacrificial compound were made of gold. The Brahmanas in his who came there for food, they all ate food as they pleased at his sacrifice. The food was clean and agreeable. It is tasty as per the as the Brahmanas desire, and all his sacrifices, milk, curd, ghee, honey, all the other items were edible. All the best orders, the clothes and ornaments and everything that's gave to Brahmanas were gratifying to the Brahmanas who were conversant with Vedas. The Devatas used to become distributors of the food in Marutta's sacrifice. The Vishwadevas were courtiers at the royal uh, uh, sacrifice, and like this, the sacrifice was performed with him. He always contributed gratification to rishis, pitrus, devatas, and thereby made them happy by practicing brahmacharya, study of Vedas, and tarpanas, and all kind of gifts and things like that. And his beds, carpets, vehicles, his vast stores of gold, difficult to be given away. He had so much. Okay, even after giving us so much, he has so much left. And voluntarily again to the Brahmanas, like Indra himself, he used to give, and his subjects were made happy by him. And such a Marutta, with his children, counselors, wives, everything, such a Marutta, in his youth, he ruled his kingdom for 1,000 years, and when the time came, he died. But he who was superior to you, that is you, Sinjaya, who is superior to you, and much more superior than your son who has died, he had to die. So, thinking about this story, O Svaitya, why are you grieving? So, Svaitya is, so Sinjaya's father name is Svitya, right? So, Svitya's grandson is Svaitya. So, why are you crying? For a prince who has not done any sacrifices or not made any danas, any gifts, who has not done any achievements, why are you crying for such a person's death? So then Narada continues. He says that King Suhotra also, we heard that he also died. So Suhotra was, again, he was the foremost of the heroes. He is invincible in battle. The Devatas used to come and see him. So acquiring his kingdom virtuously, he, with the help of Brahmanas and priests and Ritvijas, for his own, he performed a lot of sacrifices. So performing a lot of sacrifices, controlling all his enemies, he wished to increase his wealth, and he adored the devatas by following the ordinance of the scriptures and defeated his enemies with the arrows. He gratified all the creatures by means of his own excellent accomplishment. He ruled the entire earth, freeing her from the mlechas and forest thieves. So like this he ruled, and in the olden days, therefore, rivers in his kingdom ran liquid gold. So that means there was so much gold and wealth in his kingdom. So the deities, again, there used to be rain at all times. The animals used to thrive in his kingdom. The artificial lakes that created were always had water full with them. And again, so though in those water all the animals were living were happily, and like this, so unlimited wealth of gold he gave in the sacrifice performed at Kurujangala, and he gave that to Brahmanas. And before the completion of sacrifice, he gave that sacrifice, and having performed 1,000 Ashwamedas and 100 Rajasuyas and many sacred other Kshatriya related sacrifices, he made large amount of dana to Brahmanas and performed daily rites, nityakarmas, and almost countless number of he has undergone very much from these daily rites and vratas and sacrifices he has performed. And when such a king died who was superior to you and superior to your son who has not done anything, why are you crying, saying, "Oh Swaitya, oh Swaitya"? Why are you repeating your son's name, who has not done any sacrifices, who has not performed, who has not made any gifts? Why are you crying for him? And Narada then continues that the heroic king Paurava, also we hear that he also died. The king gave away 1,000 times 1,000 horses that were white in color at Ashwamedha, performed by that king. Countless number of brahmanas versed in the Shiksha and Akshara, they were come there and they were gratified. And these Brahmanas, again purified by the Vedas, knowledge, vows, and liberal agreeing, they all got costly gifts such as robes, houses, excellent beds, carpets, vehicles, and draft cattle, and things like that. Many things. They were always delighted by the king. And at each of the sacrifices in due time, king gave 10,000 elephants with gold and splendor as a gift, and he also gave chariots made of gold and standards and banners, everything made of gold. He gave away sacrificial presents, 1,000 times 1,000 maidens decked in ornaments, gold, and chariots and horses, elephants for mounting the horses, and land he gave away. He gave away cows in hundreds and thousands of cow herds decked with gold he gave as well. So like this, he gave so much for brahmanas and performed sacrifices. And he, in the past, the people who are acquainted with history, they used to sing that King Paurava gave away cows with cows. Again, the rule when somebody gifts a cow is it has to be given with a calf. Okay, so without calf, one should not gift a cow, and it should be a milking cow, and it should be of good behavior and various other things. We will see that later in Mahabharata, where Bhishma explains all these things to Yudhishthira. So he'll come that. So he gave away here. Paurava gave such a cows which had horns covered in gold, and its silver hooves, and brass milk pots were given. Female slaves and male slaves were given with asses, camel, sheep. Countless numbers were given. So that king, he performed. He was the king of Angas. He performed large number of sacrifices like that. When such a king, who is superior to you and far superior than your son, has to die, why are you lamenting, saying that, "Oh Swaitya, oh Swaitya"? Why are you crying for your son who has made no sacrifices and no gifts? Then Narada says that Ushinara's son Shibi, also we hear that has died. So Shibi's story we heard previously in Vanaparva as well, right? And also I think in Udyoga Parva, if you remember. So Shibi also had to die. He had again across the entire earth was ruled by him, and entire earth heard the sound of his chariot going through. So he went through entire earth and he made large amount of presents to Brahmanas at his sacrifices. In the battles, he won all the Kshatriyas and got entire earth under his control, and performed many Ashwamedhas without any obstruction from anybody. And again, in those things, he presented thousands, crores of golden Nishkas coins, golden coins, and many elephants and horses and many other elements, animals, grains, many deer, sheep, and many things as gifts to Brahmanas. The dana he gave away. And also many cows, and in his kingdom, rain used to come at time. The stars used to shine in night time and things like that. So he used to give so many cows that there were, as far as the raindrops come in on the earth, as far as the stars in the sky, he used to give away number of cows similar to the sand grains on the bed of Ganga. So like this, he used to give so much and gave away Shibi. And in those sacrifices, again, the carpets, houses, walls, arches, everything was made with good. Food and drink agreeable to taste and perfectly clean. Again, it's very important, not just giving when Brahmanas were given food, it's not just important that they are given a tasty food, but also clean food. prepared and with clean items and prepared cleanly. So such a food was served, and again the food and drinks served, and there was available for every description you can think of. It was there: milk, curds, collected in large lakes, uh, not in vessels or anything. So it was so much milk and curd were collected, drinks, everything was there. So people were saying that bath, eat, drink, whatever you want. So they were saying like that. And Rudra himself was gratified by Shibi by that. And then Rudra was gave him a boon saying that as you give away, let your wealth, your devotion, your fame, your religious acts, the love for all that creature you bear, and the heaven you attain, all these things become inexhaustible. So let all this continue forever. So like that, Rudra blessed him. So such is Shibi, who has done so many sacrifices, who is superior to you and much superior than your son, has to die. Why are you crying, saying that Vaishvaitya, for your son who has not done any sacrifices and not given anything? So why are you doing this? So Narada then says that we heard that Rama, son of Dasharatha, so our Ramayana's Rama here. Okay, so that Rama also had to die. So his subjects were as much related with him as his father, and so they are all. Rama had a great energy, countless virtues in there. He was unfading glory. He was with his brother uh, Lakshmana. Because of his father's command, he lived in the forest for 14 years with his wife, and in Janasthana, he killed 14,000 Rakshasas for the protection of rishis. And while dwelling there, Rakshasa named Ravana took away the princess of Videha, Sita. He took away, like Mahadeva himself in the olden days. Asura Andaka was killed by Rama in the battle, and then Rama killed in the battle the Pulastya Ravana and his brothers. He killed them, and with his followers, he killed all those Rakshasas in that. And in consequence, again, of his affectionate treatment of his subjects, his people, the Devatas worshipped Rama, and filling the entire earth with achievements. He was applauded by the Deva-rishis and compassionate to all the people. Rama ruled and he performed large number of sacrifices. That Rama performed 100 Ashwamedas and great sacrifice called Jaratya. So again, in Ramayana, we look at one Ashwamedha sacrifice where Rama released that Ashwamedha and Lavkusha get hold of that horse, and then the battle takes place between father and sons, and that's what we see, right? But here Mahabharata says that Rama has performed 100 Ashwamedhas, again, which might have happened while Sita was there, or probably when Sita was there when he was ruling. Okay, so he has performed hundreds of sacrifices, and the great sacrifice named Jaratya, and poured ghee into that, and he contributed to Gindra's delight through those sacrifices and gave away a large amount of presents to Brahmanas. And like this, Satya Rama ruled kingdom. The rishis, devatas, all men lived together on the earth. So the life breaths also of prana, apana, samana, all these things when Rama ruled the kingdom performed beautifully. So everybody was healthy and doing their karmas and living happily. So all the luminous bodies shined together, shined brighter, and there was no calamities that took place. The heavenly people, they were happy with him, with all the sacrifice and everything was running. The subjects of all the four ashramas, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, were engaged in their own duties. When the Rakshasas about again to disturb any sacrifice like he did in Janasthana, Rama was destroying them. So like this, he performed the Shraddhas of his on time, so the Pitrus were delighted. And in his kingdom, the seniors never had to perform the Shraddhas of the juniors. That means a father never lost his son or a daughter. So that was such a kingdom where nothing untoward happened in Rama's kingdom. So like this, Rama ruled that kingdom for 11,000 years. and his subjects were always were chanting his name, and they were always happy and extremely that kingdom was extremely beautiful. And taking his all four type of subjects in his kingdom, all four type of creatures in his kingdom, Rama finally leaving all that, he went to heaven. So when such a Rama died, Voshanijaya, who was superior to you and definitely much, much superior than your son, why are you lamenting, saying, Vosvaitya, Vosvaitya, your son has not performed any sacrifice or given away any present, sacrificial present. Why are you crying for your son? Then Narada narrates about Bhagiratha. So you need to remember how many kings Narada narrates here. I'm not counting. Okay. So the next one on the list is Bhagiratha. So Narada says that even Bhagiratha we hear was dead. So he brought Ganga, who is called after himself. So Bhagirathi, he made her with golden steps. He brought her to the earth, and he gave away Brahmanas thousand times thousands of uh, maidens decked in ornaments of gold, and all those maidens were upon chariots, and onto every chariot they were on, four horses were tied, and onto that there were 100 cows were following behind that, and then behind those each cow there were as many goats and sheep were following. So like this, each brahmana got thousand times thousands of uh, chariots and damn maidens for their work and things like that. So that Bhagiratha again for the he gave a large amount of presents in his sacrifices, and large number of people assembled, and for all of them he gave. And then with uh, again Ganga was much pained seeing so many people coming to his sacrifice. Ganga was pained and she said, protect me, uh, because everybody going to Ganga shore. So it became too much for her, and she said, protect me. And that's why Bhagiratha took Ganga on his lap, and that's why he became known as Ganga's father. Uh, so that's why he's known as the Ganga has become known as his daughter. So having like that, Ganga as his daughter, he again she became uh, uh, so she create sorry she removed gives mukti to all the ancestors from Bhagiratha. So again we looked at the story in Vanaparva, right? So where Sagara's sons were killed and Bhagiratha brings Ganga to earth, and they all ascended to heaven after that. So again, so like this, Bhagiratha brought Ganga, and then he pleased Shiva as well, as he was bringing Ganga to earth. So he was such a possessed of such a great ascetic merit. Bhagiratha gave Brahmanas whatever benefited them, and whatever he had, he gave away all that to Brahmanas. And at last, he ascended to region of Brahma. Through the grace of Brahmanas, he ascended, and such a Bhagiratha had to die, who was superior to you, then much superior than your son. So when it is like that, why are you lamenting? Why are you grieving, saying, Wo Svaitya, when your son has not performed any sacrifice and not given away any sacrificial gift? And then we hear that King Dilipa also had to die. The son of Avila, he also had to die, and he Brahmanas with knowledge, Vedas and everything, knowledge, full knowledge, devoted to perform sacrifices. They blessed with children and children's children, and numbering large numbers like that. They were present at his sacrifices, and King Dilipa, having performed various sacrifices, gave away the entire earth filled with treasures to Brahmanas. And at the sacrifice of Dilipa, the roads were all made of gold, and the devatas with Indra himself used to come to that sacrifice, and because they regarded him as the dharma, and the upper and lower rings of his sacrificial stake were made for gold. So again, many thousands and thousands of gold and ornaments and various things were gifted on his sacrifices. So in again Dilipa's adopt also he was also called as Katwanga. These 5 sounds always made in uh, his palace. Those sounds were Vedic mantras recitation, the twang of bows, and people saying drink, enjoy, eat. Okay, so these 5 things always heard in his palace. So when he died, who was superior to you and much superior than your son, why are you lamenting, saying, Vosvaitya, who was not, for that son who has not done any sacrifices and not done any gifts during the sacrifices. So why are you crying for your son? Then we hear that Mandhatri, son of Yuvanashya, he also died. So again, his story as well, we can looked at in birth story, we looked at in Vanaparva as well. So if you go back there, you can see the story. So again, he defeated all the devatas, asuras, and men, and the devatas like Ashwins brought him out of father's womb through surgical operations. Again, we looked at this story in Vanaparva when Yuvanashva was very thirsty. He was in the forest. He goes and where the rishis has kept a water pot with sacrificial butter in it, or sacrificial butter in it, with infused with mantras. They were supposed to plan to give that to Yuvanashva so that he could have a child. But Yuvanashva came there and in the darkness he didn't see, and he drank that water. Thinking it's water, he drank, and because it was infused with mantras, so Yuvanashva himself became pregnant. So instead of giving to his wife, he himself became pregnant, and then Ashwin's king, the twin Ashwins, the physicians of Devatas, they delivered that baby. And when the baby was delivered, who is going to give milk? So at that time, Indra gave his thumb to that baby, and the baby started sucking that thumb and then started growing big and big. And because it was sucking Indra's thumb, it became, that baby was called as Mandhatri. So having me as the sustainer, Indra called him as Mandhatri. So because of me, because of this, you survived. So like this, in 12 days, he became tall. So by sucking Indra's thumb like that, so that Mandhatri, with this bow, Janameji and Sudanvan, he defeated everybody like this. So he defeated all them, and laying again entire dominion, entire earth bringing under his control. He performed 100 Ashwamedas, 100 Rajasuyas, and he gave away Brahmanas large number of fishes made of gold, and 10 yojanas length of and 1 yojana breadth of gold he gave away. And then mountains of food were given away, food and drinks were given away at sacrifices, the geese and all the things were flowing at his sacrifice. Milk, curd, and all those things were flowing. And even Devatas, Asuras, Yakshas, Gandharvas, everybody, Brahmanas, everybody were pleased and coming to that, came to his sacrifice and fully satisfied with it. And when such a king had to die, who was superior to you and much superior than your son, why are you lamenting, saying that, Vosvaitya, why are you crying when your son has not performed any sacrifice and not given any gift? Then Yayati, son of Nahusha, we hear that he has also had to die. And Yayati story we looked at very lengthy in Adi Parva, and to some extent in Vanaparva and in Udyaga Parva. So we looked at it in many places. Okay, so Yayati also, we see that, we hear that he also had to die. So having performed 100 Rajasuyas, 100 Ashwamedas, and 1000 Pundrikas, and 100 Vajapayas, and 1000 Atiratas, and innumerable Chaturmasas. Chaturmasas, 4-month vratas, and diverse Agnistomas. He has many other diverse sacrifices where he gave large number of gifts to Brahmanas and earth, land and gold and various things to things, and then it took away all the earth from the Mlechas and Brahmana hating people. He took away and gave that to Brahmanas. And when the Asuras, Devatas or Asuras arrived for the battle, Yayati helped Devatas in the battle. and having divided the earth into four parts, he gave away to his four sons. He had from Devayani and Sharmishta. Devayani was Shukra's daughter, if you remember. Sharmishta was Vrishaparva, the Danava's Vrishaparva's daughter. So he to them he had four sons, and he gave away, and Puru became his heir, and he then the Paurava and the Pandavas come in that lineage, right? So we looked at the Adi Parva. Even if you want to recollect, go back to Adi Parva. So such as he said again, if you remember his story, Puru gave his Puru gave his youth to Yayati, and Yayati gave Puru his old age when Shukra cursed him, and then after some time enjoying thousands of years, Yayati gave it back to Puru, the youth, and then took the old age, thinking that whatever that's on the earth, whether it is the paddy, wheat, gold, animals, women, all this on the earth cannot satisfy. It will not be satisfied. It will not satisfy a man, because there is no stop to our desires. Thinking like that, he had to give up everything, and he attained, attaining contentment. He installed his son Puru to the throne, and then he went to forest. When such a Yayati who was superior to you and superior than your son, much superior than your son, had to die, why are you lamenting, saying, Shvetya, O Shvetya, and for your son who has not done any sacrifice and not done any gift during the sacrifices? Then we heard that Nabaga's son Ambarisha also had to die, and he alone battled 1,000 times with 1,000 kings, and such a king, he again defeating all the enemies through his weapons, he cut off with the force of his weapons, the umbrellas, the weapon standards, chariots and lances and of those enemies, and then he acquired all the sand, and then all of those Kshatriyas said, all those enemies said, we surrender. And reducing like that the entire earth, bringing under his control, he performed many sacrifices. Very large classes of people came there, and then on those sacrifices, Brahmanas were respectfully worshipped and greatly satisfied, and those Brahmanas ate all the sweet meats, puris, puraka, puras, apupaps, shashkilas, and various other sweet things, and savories, and various other things they ate, and they enjoyed all the drinks and served to them, and the fragrances, the geese provided, honey, milk, water, curd, various things they get, root vegetables, everything that one could wish for was there. Okay, it was probably a buffet with various items. You could eat as much as you want, and in that sacrifice, so much was given gift that the food was remaining in hill sizes. Food was remaining after everybody eating. So such a Ambarisha also had to die, and he gave away so much wealth and dana in those sacrifices. He also had to die, who was superior to you and much superior than your son. He had to die. So why are you lamenting, saying, for your son who has not done any sacrifice or given away any wealth in his sacrifice gift, why are you lamenting, saying, O Svetya, O Svetya? Then we see here that King Shashabindu also had to die, and he had 100,000 wives, and for each of those wives were born 1,000 sons each, and all those princes were having great strength and performed millions of sacrifices. And in those sacrifices, again, he Ashwamedas, he performed many Ashwamedas, and in that Ashwamedas, he gave away the presents, a large number of presents to Brahmanas, and the princes again were hundreds and hundreds upon chariots and elephants, and maidens were given away. Each of those princes gave away that much, and each maiden were accompanied with 100 elephants, and with each elephant with 100 chariots, and each chariot with 100 horses, and with the garlands, cows, and 50 goats were accompanying each of them. Like this, he was sent, gave away Brahmanas so much, and there were 13 mountains of food and drink remained untouched at his sacrifice, so much food was prepared and given away. Everybody had so much, and so much was left out. So such a king had to die and go to heaven. So who was superior to you and superior than your son? Why are you lamenting, saying that, oh Shvetya, why are you lamenting? So then King Gaya also had to die. And King Gaya, who was son of Amartya Rasaya, he had to die. That king again for 100 years he ate nothing and he performed through ghee, he performed sacrifices. Agni was gratified by him. Again, Gaya is a place as well, and there people go and perform Gaya Shraddha. Okay, that is named of this king. So Agni was gratified by him, and then I he got a boon saying that he need to have thorough knowledge of the Vedas, uh, like the penances performed by the Brahmanas, and through the practice of brahmacharya and vow of rules and vows. So I should always be kind to respect my superiors. I deserve to have inexhaustible wealth, and through practice of my own kshatriya duties without injury to others, I should be able to practice, and I wish that I may be able to make gift to Brahmanas with devotion. Okay, without any hesitation, I should be able to do. And let me create sons upon my own sons, and let me be able to give away food with devotion. My heart always be delighted in dharma. And O Agni, give me a boon that no impediment overtake me while I'm engaged in the acts for the attainment of religious merit. So these are the boons he asked, and Agni gave away all those boons. And that guy acquiring all this, he controlled the entire earth, performed full 100 years of sacrifices, and gave various kinds of presents to Brahmanas. Vow or Chaturmasi was performed by him, and for uh, every year for a century, king gave away Brahmanas 160,000 cows and 10,000 horses and 1 crore gold coins and things like that he gave away. And such a king he performed, and his great Ashwamedha also he performed, and he again gave away a lot of wealth to Brahmanas. So we'll continue Gaya's story next time when we gather, and couple of more kings, and then we'll go from there.